Feedback is vital and important because it tells the learner that their effort is acknowledged, that the teacher sees and hears her students. It helps motivate learners. It gives them encouragement and confidence to participate and perform. A word of praise or encouragement, or even constructive criticism for that matter, if it comes from the teacher, can go a very long way. Feedback also helps students to realize the areas they need to improve in or work on. And it gives them a very fair idea of the trajectory of their work. Feedback does not have to be restricted only to students' performance. It can shape the way students think, it can comment on the way they think, what they articulate, it can help in creating a disposition to learning, it can define the student's attitude to learning, and it can influence the student's receptivity to the teacher's input. The social anthropologist Dr. Aman Madan, in his talk entitled Bhagat Singh's Version of Nationalism and What It May Mean for Indian Education, in his analysis of the Indian revolutionary Bhagat Singh and his writings, observes how Singh showed an incredible depth of understanding and scholarship and was predisposed to fearless articulation at a very young age. How he evolved from a nervous, reticent boy into an outgoing, eloquent speaker with original ideas. This, Dr. Madan says, was enabled by a robust education system. The college in Punjab, it was a college called Punjabi Qaumi Vidyapit, or at least that's what Dr. Madan mentions, which was one of the many colleges established by Indian reformers that resulted out of Mahatma Gandhi's clarion call for the need to boycott the British education system. So the college in which Bhagat Singh studied facilitated a non-hierarchical interaction between students and teachers, where students freely questioned and countered their teachers, and they also had a great deal of respect for their teachers because they were encouraged to develop a subjective understanding. They were encouraged to ask questions and express their opinions. They were also encouraged to argue with their teachers. So the whole system was nourishing and supported a holistic development of the student into an individual with a thinking mind. Now, you will see some instances of feedback given by teachers in the slide which is about to be shown on the screen. So let us have a look at some of these statements and decide on the focus of the feedback in each case. These are all feedback from teachers to students on their performance. You can read it for yourself. You have really made a lot of progress in your oral presentation skills. You need to pay more attention to how you organize and sequence your ideas. You have started your argument well, however, the argument is not substantiated with examples. You should be more patient when you are working in a group. You need to give more time to library research. When you write a paper, you need to pay attention to paragraphing. One paragraph, one idea. Compared to your previous round of experiments, these results are far more accurate. Do not be afraid of making mistakes. You learn when you make mistakes. As you can see, the focus of the feedback in each of the instances is different. Sometimes it is feedback on the learner's assignment or the learner's classroom performance. Sometimes it can be a feedback on the student's behavior, disposition, interpersonal skills or attitude. Feedback can also be given on the learner's learning style. One common thing for any kind of feedback, regardless of its focus, is that the language needs to be accurate. In other words, feedback needs to be precisely worded so that the learner gets a very clear picture of what he or she is supposed to do and what they are receiving feedback on. For written assignments, rather than giving a global grade, that is a global marking or a score or an overall grade, that the teacher can actually develop her own correction or evaluation code and use it as an effective feedback mechanism. Once the student has been familiarized with the correction code, it will become easier for the student to understand the areas they need to work on. So, the code needs to have symbols which correspond with the parameters the teacher decides or the evaluation criteria which the teacher decides for the assignment. An alternative way of providing constructive feedback and ensuring that the feedback given has been acted upon or translated into action points is to translate or convert the shortcomings in the student into an extended task or assignment. For example, the teacher evaluates the assignment that was given to a student or students and comes to a certain conclusion about the student's performance and the areas the student or students need to work on. So she prepares another assignment or an extension activity based on these areas and she conducts that activity. Teachers can also devise ways of enabling learners to reflect and give feedback on their own performance and contribution. Peer feedback is another very effective strategy which can be incorporated in the classroom, which promotes learner autonomy and peer guidance and teaching. Feedback can be immediate or delayed, personal or offered in a public space in front of other learners depending on the nature of the task and the output expected from the student. For example, if the student is making an oral presentation or if the student is in the middle of an experiment or has just concluded an experiment, it is better that the student receives an immediate feedback on what went well and what could have gone better, since the experience is fresh in the student's mind. And both the oral presentation and the experiment will disappear in some time and be erased from the memory. Therefore, in such cases, delayed feedback is not as effective as immediate feedback. On the other hand, if it's a written assignment or a test, then feedback can be given later. Feedback can be delayed and offered while returning the corrected assignment, since there is a written record of the assignment for the teacher and for the student's ready reference. If there are certain things the teacher wants to bring to the notice of the student, which could be awkward or embarrassing or intimidating and have an adverse impact on the student's performance or confidence or self-esteem, then it is best that feedback may be given in private, as in one-to-one, in person in the form of counseling. Sometimes while giving feedback in an open space, if the teacher feels that there could be a sensitive student who might not take it in the right spirit, so she could do feedback as a whole class feedback. She need not necessarily point out errors made by a particular student. She can simply mention it, give a generic feedback on performance, and accompany her feedback with an objective commentary on the errors and the action points she expects the learners to start working on.